chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello everybody, welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast and it's going to be more positive this time. Pretty sure we can guarantee that. Matt Taylor's first win as Miller's boss come on Saturday against Huddersfield 2-1 victory. Plenty to cover from goals scored, goal conceded, and then we can look ahead to Tuesday when we're live on Sky again. Can't take us off telly a minute. As we go to Stoke. Mick is with us. How are you doing, Michael?
All good, mate. Thank you. Are you?
Very, very good. Danny, how's it going?
It's going very well, thank you.
Wonderful. We're all happy with 3 points back in the back pocket, aren't we?
Yes.
John Hensby says, good evening. A good win yesterday. Just what the doctor ordered. It was important Matt Taylor got his first victory in the bank. First victory, it didn't come on his back. Absolutely. David Lawton's with us. Andrew Kelly says, good evening. Are we still on cloud nine after the Georgie Kelly goal? I think just about.
Mm-hmm.
Brock, good evening. Hope we're a little happier. Yes, we are. Bazza, Carl, Phil, Mark, Gambles, Noel Jordan. Plenty of people with us so far today. Let's go back to the start of the game, though, Mick. The starting lineup comes up, and I think every single Rotherham fan's going, oh, God, what's going off here?
What?
Danny messaged us saying, I think Matt Taylor's been on Jaeger.
Yeah.
It was strange. It all became very clear post-match, the reasons why.
Yeah.
But just, it was a worrying... Was it a worrying? It was a strange starting 11, weren't it?
It was. And I'd sort of got my cynical head on. You know, we've got where we are so far this season with having a really good mixture of youth and experience. And then we look at that lineup and there's about 300 years experience just at back five, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you start to think, well, hang on a minute, are we going down that old sort of, let's just use the old heads route, you know what I mean? The sort of Gareth Southgate England route. We just use people who've done it before and not have anybody any sort of, I don't know, exuberance of youth, you know what I mean, that got us where we are. But obviously, like you say, after the match, it all became clear as to why that was, or why the lineup was as it was. But yeah, initial thoughts weren't positive. I'll be honest.
No. Oh, Danny's dropped out.
I think his internet's playing up.
We'll get Danny back shortly. Take into account the post-match, then, the only real problem, the only real sort of question mark is Cameron Humphreys still not getting a start. And that's the only thing that didn't answer itself post-match. He obviously came on briefly at the end of the game.
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it? I get Peltier's got a million years worth of experience and Grant Hall and Woody exactly the same. But I just don't understand why he's not getting minutes.
No, I don't, and that were my feeling. And for me, after Hall's performance at Blackburn, I felt if anybody was going to drop out of that back three, it would be him, because I don't think he had a good game at all. And as I've said before, you know, he was complicit in probably all three of the goals. So I felt that would be where the change would be, and Cameron Humphreys would come back in, because we were so solid when he was in there originally. So I'm a bit surprised as to why he's not getting his starting berth back. However, obviously as a new manager, he's got you know, he's got to get used to the squad that he's got, and it is difficult to drop all that experience out of your squad. I accept that, but you know, he's going to have to take the plunge sooner or later. And Cam Humphreys is one of our best centre halves. There's no question about that in my mind, despite his age and relative lack of experience in comparison to everybody else. So he will get his chance, obviously, and once he gets his chance, I don't see him dropping back out again without it being an injury. But we've just got to give this manager some time to bed in and recognise his best team. But Cameron Humphreys is part of his best team, in my view. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's strange because he basically fits into what Matt Taylor's trying to do. Obviously, try and be better on the ball, try and be smarter on the ball. Cam Humphreys brings you that, doesn't he? He is a better on the ball defender than all three of the guys that played in front of him on the deck. Certainly, obviously other parts of his game is a bit roaring, but I'm surprised because of the way he's trying to play. That's even more surprising to me why he's not got in the starting 11. But I think from what Matt Taylor said, Woody's not going to play all 3 games. From how he did previous weeks. So there's going to be some changes, chopping and changing. Danny should be back with us, maybe. Maybe not. How are you doing, Danny? Are you with us?
I think so. I think my computer was just having a moment to itself.
Is your mum on Amazon ordering stuff?
No, she's not. She's not here actually.
Charlie Simpson said lineup was a shock, definitely unexpected. Yes, it was. We'll come on to the reasons behind those, the injury stuff that got post-match, which brought us all back down to earth a little bit after the game. Let's talk about Tom Eaves. Tom Eaves got a second start in a row. Mark Gamble says, "All right, Tom Eaves, don't have a problem with him per se, but the style of play we play when he's on is awful. We'll get found out not using our midfield in this league. Our best football has been on the deck." He thinks that Eaves should be plan B or C. I don't necessarily disagree with that, to be honest with you. But in terms of his performance, Danny, I thought he's only played like 4 games for us. But I thought it was comfortably his best performance out of the 3 games so far. He looks like he's gradually getting up to speed. It's taking time, but there is a very obvious improvement, I think.
Yeah, over the last 2 games, he has improved and he's got rid of ring rust, I think, and that's why he's looked a bit better. But the comment about potentially being a plan B or a plan C, yeah, I sort of understand that because I agree we've played a better football when it's been on the floor. I mean, against Huddersfield, some of our passing triangles were absolutely incredible. It's like we created a fantastic passing triangle in the build-up to Kelly's goal. The little knockabout between Washington, Fergie and Rathbone, I think it was. Just knocking it between each other and just pulled the defence out and then found the space for Barlaser to sweep the ball in. But with Eaves, I think he's definitely how do I describe it? He's a bit like a kitchen sink sort of footballer. You throw him on when you are trying to get a goal, whether it's 0-0 or 1-0, and you've got under pressure and you're getting a lot of set pieces. You need someone who will get on the end of it, and I think Eaves is your height in that situation. Even though the first thing Georgie Kelly does is outleap him with winning a header. But yeah, Eaves is very slowly getting better. Yeah. I think he is quite slow with pressing balls and running after loose balls. He does look quite slow in certain situations. But I think in the early stages of the season, when we need to be racking up as many points as we possibly can up until the World Cup, I don't think he's your starting man. I think he's your man when you have to dig in and really, really scrap for any points or goals you can around February, March time, and he might come into his own. But right now, I think the better option would be for Kelly, because he just gets stuck in all the time and upsets people. And that's exactly how he got his goal. He got stuck in and met a great takedown from Woody and just flew his leg at it and scored. And that's the sort of player you need, the player who will just win you the points in certain aspects in the game. But I do berate Tom Eaves in the games because it's frustrating to see him not have the pace to after the balls. But when you really sit down and study it, it's like a bit of rust there. He is still putting effort in for it. He's just a little bit too cautious in jumping for challenges, I think, and that's one thing he needs to change.
He's not as brave as Kelly, is he?
Yeah, and that could be because of his injury he had in pre-season, or he's trying to protect it and this, that, and other. But yeah, I saw some people say that the absolute grand reception that Kelly got might put his confidence in the gutter. Now, I disagree. I think that'll encourage him more to put more effort in and try, because it's like that's what they think of him, and I need to be in front of him. So that should be his motivator to really get stuck in now.
John Morell says for him, Eaves doesn't look fit. It was very slow. His first touch is not there either. His first touch is dreadful at the minute, and I assume his first touch must be better than that to be playing the Championship for a few years. So I assume that's got to come at some point. But his first touch, not just yesterday, Mick, his first touch has let him down recently quite a few times, where he's done the hard work, got himself in a position, and then the touch has just bounced away from him. It feels like he's just not there yet.
It does, and I agree with John. He's definitely not fit. He can't possibly be fit because he's carrying so much bulk, and I'm not saying weight, but he's such a big unit. You're never ever going to get the pace from him that's required to play that role, really. And as you say, his touch is not great at the moment. He's obviously out. He's obviously out of form, having not played for a while. So every ball bounces off him. His job within that system is to hold the ball up, and he's not able to do that at the moment. I have no problem with the guy at all. Like I say, he is just slow and not really match fit. But the issue I have with it is that it completely changes the way we play football. And it's not how we got to where we were earlier in the season. It's not how those performances came about by having a big man up front and the ball, bouncing off him essentially, and us having to chase down the second balls and everything. It's just not the style of football that suits the rest of the squad. And Georgie Kelly is not the same type of player as Tom Eaves. Yeah, he'll win your headers. Yeah, he'll put himself about, but he's not the big man up front, not your sort of Michael Smith archetypal big man up front. So I suspect, particularly with the injury to Chio, that Matt Taylor will continue with Tom Eaves. I'm convinced that he will. It just reminds me a little bit of a Sheffield United version of Harry Maguire. You know what I mean? He's got the turning circle of an oil tanker, and it's just because he's just so big. Yeah, he's so big that it's not physically possible to turn all that lot around in a short space of time. But we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We'll have to wait and see. It's the style of football that worries me.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on to some positives.
Yeah.
Because that was sort of a positive, not quite. We'll start with the first goal, Danny. A very, very, very nicely worked goal. For me, it's been created by Ollie Rathbone taking up the position on the left-hand side, which has just basically blown Huddersfield's mind and given us an extra man over there, which has caused the overload, and then opened up the space for Barlaser. That move by Rathbone has done like three different things, which has created the goal. And he did it quite a lot. He did it 4 or 5 times in the game. So there's clearly an idea to get in overloads in certain areas to give Barlaser the space. Give Barlaser space, then we all know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the challenge from Rathbone on their number 18 called.
I can't remember now. You're right.
Anyway, him. It was his challenge, and he honestly gets caught in possession and tries to play it out and not boot it out, basically. And Ollie catches him in possession, wins the ball, brings it to Barlaser. And thankfully it was on Sky because I'm able to have a look at it a little bit more with the replays. And you see Barlaser look at Fergie, I think it was, and then glance at Wash, and then he's gone, no, bang, straight through to Wash, and it's a fantastic finish. But that's the midfield play that scores us goals, using the midfield and utilising it, and then just look what's happened. All right, it's a very well taken finish from Wash, who has scored both of his goals in that top right corner, by the way. So any other rival teams watching this, you put a bit of cardboard in that top right corner, Wash won't score at all. But yeah, again, it's the hard work from the midfield. I thought all three midfielders were on the game against Huddersfield. Wiles looked nearly back to his League One self in terms of work rate. Didn't quite get a goal out of it, but his work rate was very good, and he seems to have settled, shall we say. He seems to have settled now after the transfer window and Paul Warne leaving. and that's a quid in the tin. Damn it. Yeah, all three of them were great, but it was Rathbun's challenge that created it, Barlaser's through ball that made it, and then Washington's well-taken strike that finished it. It's quite a good analogy. I like that.
I watched him make. We're all desperate for Washington to get the goals because we all just like him. We all just like the way he is. He's quick. He's athletic. He's Rotherham United player. That's what he is. He is a Rotherham United player. And we're all. If he gets 10 goals this season, I think I'm happy. I'm happy with that. To be honest with you, he's not a goal scorer. He got 15 in League One to come up to Championship. I think 10's fine because it gives everything else. But the finish itself is a superb finish. The keeper's got zero chance, has he? I know he's got a minute. He's got a bit of time. But he could not have placed it any better if he picked it up and walked it in.
An absolute peach of a finish, and we were right behind it, so it looked even better from where we were, And you're right, the keeper had no chance, and he's no slouch, that keeper. When he's not fronting stereophonics, he's a good goalkeeper. But yeah, it was an absolute top-notch finish. And everything you've said about the build up to it as well, it was a well worked goal. It was a little bit scrappy to start with until it came to Barlaser, but from that point on, it was just the ball. If you look at Barlaser, if you watch it back, he hesitates for a second. He waits for that space to open up, and then he just plays it absolutely perfect into Washington, who's finished, like I said, just top class, top draw. So hopefully, like you said, he'll bag a few more, all in that corner.
All in that corner, yeah.
Their 18 was Kasumu.
Kasumu, there we
it
go.
Sounds like a noise I make when I sneeze.
Yeah. Let's have a quick mention about Dan Barlaser because while he's here, let's just enjoy him. Jake the Snake says, hi everybody, how we all have to win. Barlaser is an absolute baller. Yes, he is. Ian Colcuff, brilliant steal by Ollie, great pass by Dan. What a finish, brilliant composure by all of them, basically. Jerry and Simpson's Barlaser. Nick's right, that delaying of the pass, knowing that the space, because Washington didn't make a particular move, he couldn't because it was almost offside. But Barlaser knew that space was going to open up. And that just shows his vision. He's already knowing what the opposite, what he thinks the opposition is going to do. And it just gives him the opportunity to pick up a brilliant pass, which nobody else in the team does that, Danny. He is the only person in that team that picks that pass, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is actually between Barlaser and Kasumu, between the number of assists in the Championship this season. I think both of them. Sorba Thomas, that's the one. So yeah, and I think I've seen this tweet from who was it by Dino, I think it was, saying that if Barlaser was in a team surrounded by much more like on the ball creative players, he would run riot in those sort of teams. We're very, very lucky to have Barlaser and with how creative he is, and he just runs the midfield distribution really, doesn't he? Like, yeah, sometimes he's a bit misplaced with passes, and he doesn't quite have the composure with set pieces that he had in League One, purely because this is the Championship, and there's a little bit more at stake, shall we say. For example, the free kick, which eventually led to Kelly's goal, which was just fired straight into someone's midriff. Yeah. But other than that, with like his vision, like we've said, the little delay in play for the space to open up and spotted the two players making the run and made that decision to play in wash. That's just natural ability, in my opinion. That's something you don't really learn. You've either got that eye or you haven't. And thankfully for us, Barlaser's not just got one eye, he's got two for that. Because sometimes his passes are absolutely laser guided. Was it Barlaser who played an absolute laser out to Harding on the right hand side? That everyone who was sat around me at that point was just legit just in awe. I've never seen so many blokes just sat with the mouth open or just going, wow. It was pure laser guided. That's a cheat code pass, that I swear. And there is very few players who can do that in the Championship, and thankfully for us, Barlaser is one of them. So yeah, Dan, I'll have me checking the post for promoting you that much. Cheers.
Yeah. There was also another one, mate. I think it was to Wiles again, like it was last week. There were inside pass with Wiles. I think the keeper got there first. can't watch back there, but it wasn't just a couple of times. It wasn't once or twice Barlaser's doing this in a game. He's just doing it for fun, which is brilliant. I mean, I'm going to play the negative card here. What happens if he goes? What happens if somebody comes in January and says, right, here's £4 million? He's out of contract in summer. What do we do from there? Because how much would it cost us to find another Dan Barlaser?
You won't find another. You won't find one initially, but they are out there. But they cost a lot of money. That's why we were lucky to get hold of him. But on the flip side of that, we can't. We know he's going to leave. Unless we get ourselves promoted to Premier League, he's going to leave. I know. Hopefully, we can get him on a longer deal so we can get a decent wedge for him. But he will leave. So it's in the meantime. Hopefully, we're going to have to find somebody that can take that place. We haven't had a Dan Barlaser for many years. So you can't, and very few teams have got one. So it's not as though you can't play football without one. But while you've got Mr. Barlaser in there, then you've got to just make hay while the sun shines, haven't you? And hopefully we'll get him to sign another deal before he goes to pastures new. But just enjoy it. Doctor. Sorry.
John Simpson said, I read the comment that way I misread it, but John Simpson said, I think Matt Taylor will build around Dan and do all he can to keep him. I thought she build a house for Dan.
I'll build the house for him. I've played that mission in Red Dead Redemption. I know how to build a house.
We all need to build a house for him to say we'll all chip in and we'll build the house. If there's anything that can be done by Tony Stewart and the club to keep Dan Barlaser, you throw the kitchen sink at it. You offer him what you were going to pay Michael Smith and Icky. You give him everything that he wants, because he's the type of player that will just get better with age, won't he? As his vision gets better and as his skills get better and as his know-how gets better, he's nowhere near his ceiling yet.
Listen, if the rumours were true about what they were looking to offer Smithy and or Icky, then I'm sorry, but really, would you really take Smithy over Barlaser? Really? So nobody, and I mean nobody, in their right mind would ever consider that to be an option. And therefore, if we have offered that amount of money, then that's an absolute no-brainer. No-brainer. You offer him whatever you possibly can to keep him here. So let's see. We'll see what happens. Tony might need to buy a new car, so Barlaser might have to go. New car and a new box of cigars in Cuba.
To give to Dan to keep him?
No, instead of paying him.
Oh, right, okay.
You know how tight he is. Tight as oak. And I mean, spending his own money on himself is just unforgivable, really. I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it.
Moving on. Brian Vernon says Tony Towner is his all-time favourite Miller, but Dan is close to overtaking him. Worth the entrance fee alone when he's on form. The Geordie Hoddle, which is a new one. We like that. Amy Woolhouse says the only trouble is Dan is destined and also wants bigger things. His dream is to play in the Premier League. He's made that known on a number of occasions, and we wish him all the best if he does achieve that dream. Absolutely. And this is, if he goes on to sign for, pick out Burnley as an example, maybe not the Burnley team, and he finds his way back to the Premier League, we'll all be cheering him on. When he eventually makes an appearance for Turkey, which I think is something he would like to do in the future, we'll all be watching the game, cheering him on. He's a special player.
Hopefully, if he does go, he'll sign for Newcastle and he won't have to pay a sell-on fee.
True. Well, yeah, let's pay it to themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I'm going to have my claim to fame of is that wherever Dan Barlaser ends up, which I think will be the Premier League at least some point in his career, he still follows me on Twitter. So I will have bagged a future Premier League footballer as a follower on Twitter. That is my claim to fame. Yes. But yeah, like we said, Barlaser is going to go on to play. I think, like I said, play for Turkey, probably sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the very, very best decision we've made to turn down the offers from, I think it was Blackpool, who wanted to sign him. So he's going from strength to strength
That
with
blows
us.
my mind, that, by the way. £1 million quid, £1 million. What were they thinking?
Yep. And I think I know this is just my thinking with my Miller's glasses on, but if Barlow was to sign a new deal and we were to stay up and finish quite strongly this season, which at this point we still are on course to do, then he can build on that next season and then build on it again, and then he can leave for a team that's really pushing up the leagues and then move into the Premier League. That sounds like a solid business idea. It just depends on us this season. I think if he signs a new contract and we finish in the relegation places, then we should entertain offers for him.
It goes, yeah.
I think even if he has signed a new contract, I think that is more safety for us rather than him. But if we finish strongly, and then he looks at that and goes, we can keep building on that, then that's doors opening all over the place for him, not just here with us and improving his game with us, but also elsewhere in future. So Alison, if you're listening, make sure that's written down, because that's now the plan for your son. He's staying here with us.
Yeah. Jalen Simpson says, all the players who rumoured, the three main players who were leaving over the summer, Danny's the only one who really put himself in the shop window. I would add consistently. Cheers had flashes with his goals, but Barlaser, I don't think he's had a bad game yet. Yeah. And I completely agree. We said this in summer. I think all three of us said the Championship will suit him better than League One, and it has so far. 5 assists, second top assists in the season. I think 6 goal involvements, and he missed a penalty, so he could have had 7 goal involvements. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Goal for Huddersfield. Let's talk about that. At the time, Danny, I was thinking, it's rubbish defending. But you watch it back. Washington was marking Danny Ward. I have got 2 points, I suppose. First of all, I feel really sorry for Washington because he got cut off. It was a great move by Huddersfield to cut him off. He couldn't get through. But also, why is Connor Washington marking Danny Ward? Danny Ward's famously quite good in the air, and Washington's not very big. Seems a bit of a mismatch, that one.
I think it was just a mistake at the time. I think Washington probably got left with Danny Ward's because after that Woody was on him all the time, and then he was kept very quiet. So it was actually good to see we rectified that mistake more or less immediately. But that goal for Huddersfield straight off the training grounds for them. They've obviously rehearsed that down to a T. Like you said, Wash got cut off, so that's been rehearsed. And then Ward just sort of goes in and just gets a tap in, and it sort of goes underneath everybody. He's a bit lucky that it does go underneath everybody, but I can't really blame Victor because he hasn't got line of sight on it because everyone's in front of him. Ward has got a good connection on it and was probably destined to score against us with his first trip back since leaving for Cardiff. So fair enough. And then, like I said, they've rehearsed it as well. Just a good goal for them, very well worked goal. It's just a shame that we were only in front for about 5 minutes, something like that. That was a bit of a heart pull, but it is what it is, I think.
Yeah. One of my favourite bits, Mick, was the free kick that led to it, where it hit the wall and went over. Was Victor go to dive, stand still, and then just fall over anyway on the floor for no reason. And tickle me that, to be honest. What were your view on the goal?
Well, I've watched quite a bit of American football this week, as you're aware, and I've clipped that goal so that Ben can take it to his defence coordinator, because some of the blocking of the Rotherham defenders within that was absolute textbook American football. So there was a lot going off the ball. And there's no surprise whatsoever that we didn't get anywhere near it, because most of the Huddersfield players, all they were there for was to block any movement of the defenders to clear it out for clear the space for Danny Ward to get his shot away. So I didn't realise that was a thing in football, in real football. But it's something maybe Matt Taylor should be working on. It's if we're allowed to do it, it's good. Let's get it done. Let's try it.
I mean, technically, they didn't do anything wrong. They just stood in the way. They didn't pull them. He
didn't stood in the way. I mean, they've got both arms out. You know what I mean? Listen, anywhere else on the, and I'm not complaining. Look, it is what it is. But anywhere else on the pitch, that's always going to be given as a foul, always, because you just can't do it. you can't put both arms out and stop players coming past you. It's just you can't, except it would appear at corners. But there's so much going off in the box at corners. You know, it is what it is. It's just I just found it quite interesting, that role, and comparable.
Yeah. J. Allen Simpson asked, does Matt Taylor do zonal or man marking? Could explain the odd matchup. It was a mix. Certainly Tom Eaves was essentially the front post, I think, for the first. I think Woody was sort of central. It looked like a bit of a mix of zonal and man marking, which I don't mind. I don't mind anything, to be honest with you. John Morrell says, not a thing. You had a blocker for Wood when he scored against us this season. Take those rose-tinted glasses off.
No, I don't believe that, John. I can't. I don't recall that at all.
We've slept since then. We can't remember that.
Yeah. Ian Coughlin says, I'm a bit disappointed with Victor. It didn't save it because he saves everything. Yeah, I get it. Brief mention on the referee. Bazza says, take this point first of all. It says, crazy refereeing when Eaves was flagged for offside. The referee let Huddersfield take the free kick 5 yards inside our half. Now, that is allowed. That is the law. So how it works is, when Eaves was offside, when he was in the Huddersfield half, he was in an offside position. The offence doesn't happen. It's not an offence until he touches the ball or goes towards the ball. Just hands down, Nick. Hands down. It's not an offence until he moves towards the ball or touches the ball. So the offence can occur technically anywhere on the pitch, and the free kick is taken from where the offence takes place. So offsides now can be taken in the other half where it normally would be. I know Mick's going to agree with that. I know a lot of people may disagree with that, but that is the law. That is correct that the referee has allowed that to happen. Mick,
I thought Eaves was flagged offside in our half. That's where my complaint came from. But if it was offside in their half, when the ball was kicked and came back on and touched it in our own half, then I sort of understand where the refs come from with that law application. So, fair enough.
Mick's going to come with a less reasoned argument, I think.
That was one of the two things he got right all afternoon. So I get what you're saying, Matt, and I fully accept that, and I know that it's right.
Yeah,
and I understand that. So I had a discussion with the chap who sits next to us. Later on in the second half, there's a ball crossed into the Huddersfield penalty area. I can't remember whether it was Tom Eaves. No, it was first half, weren't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether Tom Eaves or whoever it was standing in an offside position. Okay, the ball's crossed in. He's standing in an offside position. The defender heads it out for a corner, but it's given offside. The Rotherham player made zero attempt to go for the ball, none whatsoever. So that can't be offside, or the other one can't be offside. It can't be both. And this is my issue. We've made the offside rule, law, whatever you want to call it, so complicated, so difficult for people to understand that it just can't be implemented properly. It's ridiculous. If he's offside, he's offside. If it doesn't make any sense to me, because that's not given. That same set of circumstances where the player's standing in an offside position but doesn't go for the ball, 9 times out of 10, it's not given. But then it is. I refer you back to the Sunderland game last year, where the ball's crossed into our box. The Sunderland player's in an offside position. Icky goes for the ball, scores an own goal. That's not offside. But this was the same. Exactly the same scenario. And this is why people get frustrated. Well, I get frustrated. I do. And
Are you really?
Make your mind up.
I know you were going to bring this up. I know exactly what you're going to show. Yeah, you're right. I agree. I agree with you. That particular decision, it's one or the other, but it's different line or giving different interpretations.
But why you can't have a different interpretation of a straightforward rule?
You clearly can. I don't know. I agree. I agree with you. That shouldn't have been given, especially compared to the Icky incident last season.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Sean Green is a ridiculous law. I agree. I don't disagree with you, but that's where we are. And and a lot of people in the stadium obviously didn't understand the law because a lot of upset people about it. You've got to, that's why. That's why basically. We'll come on to another refereeing decision later on, which divides their opinion as well. Because it did divide opinion. Let's move on. I can't believe we took 35 minutes to talk about Georgie Kelly. What is wrong with us? The game changed on, let me find exactly what minute, 58 minutes. Georgie Kelly comes off for Tom Eaves. Tom Eaves did his job, ran around a lot, did very, very good. Never really a goal threat, but did a decent enough job. Georgie Kelly comes on and just goes, well, I'm just going to put ball back in net then. It was a decent build-up from a poor free kick, as you've mentioned, Danny, from Barlaser. The shot was rubbish, but the composure from everybody else, Barlaser took a really wide position, and the ball again is a superb ball from Dan. And Richard Wood wrestles about 3 men off him to put it on a plate for Georgie Kelly, and it's a very good finish. At the time, I just thought he was just put it back in net. He was falling down. It's got up back off the floor, and we just love Georgie Kelly a bit more, don't we?
Yeah, I'm just going to make a note of the time so my missus knows when to tune in for the Georgie Kelly stuff. 36:23, right? So, but yeah, I am taking all the credit for Georgie's goal because I shouted at him, "Georgie, go and tell the gaffer that you want to get on that pitch." A minute later, he comes on the pitch. 3 minutes later, he's scored. So thank you very much. My CV will be on Matt Taylor's desk Monday morning. But yeah, talking about Kelly's goal, he's again striker's instinct. That is something Georgie Kelly has just naturally got. We've talked about Dan naturally having the eye for a through ball and a laser pass. Kelly's just got the eye for goal. He's just that goal scorer. He's a little bit like a little bit like an Irish Billy Sharp about him. You know, he just knows where the goal is. And he's determined to get the ball in the net no matter what body part it comes off. Because like you say, he was on his way down. As he's on his way down, he's controlled it with his chest and then sort of stumbled on one knee and then just swung his leg at it, completely juked the goalkeeper who thought it would go into his right and the ball's gone to the keeper's left and nestled in the goal, and North Stand's roof's just come off. But that's what Georgie offers. Georgie offers that just natural ability to go, I'm going to pick the ball up and I'm going to shoot. You know, he's done it against Gillingham, he's done it against Blackpool, and now he's done it against Huddersfield. So that's that's more or less his 3 ticked off now. He's got the promotion clincher, his first home goal, and the winning goal in a derby. Which, I'm absolutely buzzing for Georgie, to be fair, because he's just going from strength to strength. I saw a comment mentioned earlier that even in Georgie's interview, he doesn't feel like he's mentally ready for a start. And if that's the case, fair enough. You know, fair enough on that one, because so far he's been one of the best impact subs in recent memory. And yeah, I can just see him going from strength to strength still. His next one he needs to tick off now is an hat-trick. By the way, that's the next one.
Paul Buxton's noise level when Kelly came on and the limbs when he scored were just wow. Yeah.
Can I just interject you then on the limbs when he scored? I legit went down 2 rows of seats and I have a bruise on my back from a row of seats. Absolute wow. That's the first time I've been involved in home limbs because I normally sit on the front. And I thought, you know what, I'll move and I'll go and sit with my mate. And Georgie's come on, he scored, and now I've got a bruise back. So that's me never moving again.
It's just I don't think, Mick, I know of a player who's made such an impact straight away. And you could take out the Gillingham goal, because before he came on at Gillingham, already all the Rotherham fans were willing him to do well. Even before he come on the pitch. I can't remember that ever happening ever before. When he's warming up, he's getting a bigger cheer when he warms up than anybody else I've ever seen. Yeah. When he comes on, the stadium goes up. Ignore the goals. There's something about him, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if we can put his finger on it. But there's something about him where with this club, where he just gets it, we get him, and there's just a link. And I don't really know how to explain it.
No, I don't either. There's no point coming to me because I don't. I think I mentioned this on post-match. You know, I can't remember in my lifetime realistically, a player having done so little and yet having such an impact on supporters, not necessarily on the games that he's played in, albeit he has, but the way that the supporters have taken him to heart for even before that Gillingham goal just cemented it.
Yeah,
even before that, and you're right. I don't know why either. He's clearly such a lovely bloke. You know what I mean? And he's I don't know, but it's brilliant. Isn't it? It's just brilliant, and he's so unorthodox. He's not, he's not like anybody I've ever seen before. Really, I don't know. I love him. Yeah.
He's got his own style, hasn't he? And this is obviously an extreme example, but if you choose if you like cricket, Steve Smith for Australia is very unique in the way he does it. His movements and everything else. It's very unorthodox, but it's perfect. It works for him. And there are obviously other examples in other sports, but off my head, I can't think of one in football who is so unorthodox, but it works. It works an absolute treat. You look at some of the goals he scored in Ireland now that are sort of coming up as he's doing very well. It's very. Danny, what are your thoughts on? If you're better with words than me and Mick.
Thanks, I think.
It's crazy. The link now is just it's unbreakable. It feels like it's unbreakable, the link between us and Georgie Kelly now.
Yeah, I think it's a sort of a hand-in-hand sort of relationship because he's won his promotion from League One with being on the pitch for 10 minutes on his debut, and he's already clinched his promotion. So he's already a cult hero. But on Georgie's side of it, I think he sort of looks at us as like his first forte into proper professional football. Because like you said, he was playing part-time in Ireland for a bit and he did end up at a professional club. But the League of Ireland isn't a completely professional league. I think it's made up of the big five, I think it is, who are the professional clubs. And then the rest are part-timers. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just how the league works. And for him to come across like the little pond between us and Ireland and then make such a massive impact with just scoring one goal in his first appearance, that's what's made it a hand-in-hand relationship. He loves us for being so warm and welcoming to him, and we love him for his exploits, but also his just his character. You know, he's still that little cheeky Irish lad in here, and he's not lost it. He's got that very cheeky grin about him, and if you watch his interview that he did when I follow after the game, he just doesn't stop smiling the whole time.
He's living his best life, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's just so happy about everything. And and then the more stuff you read about him as well, it just makes you love him more. You know, like how him and Ollie Rathbun have got a proper bro relationship, how they go and stop round each other's flats and make meals for each other. He's just one of them people where you just naturally love him and just want to be his mate. And some of the videos I've seen of him in Courtyard after we got promoted makes me want to be his mate as well because he can drink. But I just love him. I've never said that about a man before, but I just love him to bits.
Yeah. Paul Brock, on the unorthodoxness, he says it's a bit like Tyson Fury with boxing, very unorthodox, but what works for him is very good. Get that with football, yeah. Yeah. Mike Miller, Georgie has a natural charisma about him, living the dream of being a footballer and showing it. Most of us can relate to that.
I think that hit, Mike's hit the nail on the head there with it. That's absolutely right. I think that's probably what it is, and we can all relate to it as well. If even if we're not all quite as intelligent as Georgie Kelly is, but you know, I mean, we can see we all want to be that man, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, Nicholas Skidmore. It's crazy. He scored 3 goals, and we absolutely love him. Yes, we do. We'll come on to the Stoke game shortly. We'll sort of talk about if he's going to start and things like that. We'll come to that in a minute. But yeah, that was the second goal. We need to heap more praise on Richard Wood. We're certainly not heaped enough praise on Richard Wood, Danny. He got man of the match for Sky. Sky gave Richard Wood man of the match, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I didn't think he stood out, but it was Richard Wood. He was solid. But his assist was again as much as nobody else is going to score like Georgie Kelly scored, and like nobody's going to do what Dan Barlaser did. Nobody else is going to do what Richard Wood did. He just literally 2 men were on. I'm going to get there first and got there first. Brilliant.
Yeah, it were definitely a falling down sort of goal, wasn't it? Because Woody's on his way down as he gets his head to it. And listen to the Huddersfield comms and I follow, and they were saying you can't let someone who's already going down get the head to it. But Woody's sort of drawn the attention away from Georgie in a sense, because they've obviously seen Woody is, that centre half threat in the box, and he'll get his head on it. And as the passes come in, they've seen Woody lurking at the back post, and they've gone off to mark him. Woody's played it back into play, and Kelly's just, as we've already discussed, gone down and just swung his leg and scored. But for Woody to have not just the knowledge to play the ball back into the danger area, but also have the ability to do it whilst having 2 men on him directly and a third lurking, and still get his head to it and still put it into the danger area. Fair play, Woody. Fair play. For that assist alone, I can see why he's one man of the match. But for overall performance, I would give it to Barlaser personally. But I can see why Sky have given it him. The magic man came up with another trick. He's running out of space to put them up his sleeve, but he's pulled another one out.
Yeah. How would you say we defended, Mick? I felt for the most part we were pretty good. I still feel like set pieces. We had a comment here. I forgot to put it down, so apologies. I still feel like set pieces are now a weak spot. I might be being harsh, but we're not defending set pieces as well as we were, are we?
No, we're not. We're not. But overall, after the disappointment of the defensive performance at Blackburn, I think it was a massive step up this week. And it's no coincidence that Richard Wood's back in there to marshal that defence. I don't think that's necessarily why the performance was as bad as it was at Blackburn. But either way, yeah, you're right. We've still got some work to do, and I don't think the manager has settled on his best combination in that back line. There's been changes in all 3 games so far whilst he's been here. And for me, the reason why we were so solid to start with was because that back line were pretty much settled right from minute 1. So he does need to settle on who's going to play in there. But yeah, defensively, in the main on Saturday, you couldn't pick out a bad player, and a few people mentioned it on Twitter and in the comments as well. Wes was just Wes again, weren't he? He was just.
There was an early pass, weren't there? Which he was very loose.
Yeah, it was just absolutely. Grant Hall had a decent game. Peltier had a decent game. Woody, we've discussed. I felt Fergie got isolated a little bit on that left-hand side. It was a strange decision for me. Is it what's his name? Sandro? Is it Sandro?
Sorba Thomas.
Sorba. Well, I don't know. I think I was thinking of somebody else. Sorba, quick lad, very, very quick lad, and was really keen to use all the width of the pitch. And I think it left Fergie a bit high and dry at times. I'm surprised he didn't start with Cohen Bramall because of his pace, because we got caught out a couple of times. But Woody and Hall came across and Peltier came across and helped him out. So it wasn't a massive issue, but it could have been. But yeah, we were all right, weren't we? We were all right defensively, not as good as we have been. Yeah.
Johansson just said she didn't think Fergie had a good game. No, it was okay. I think it was anything special. But yeah. So let's talk about the pre-match. Oh, we'll talk about Victor first. We haven't talked about Victor yet before we talk about that. Victor's pulled off 2 great saves, and the first one fell to Rhodes, but it was offside, but the save itself was fantastic. And then there was one a little bit later on, Danny, where it was stopped down to his right-hand side. He's just had another superb game, I think, Victor. We could say this every single week, but he's just brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Like you say, with the goal that was eventually given offside for Rhodes, he has really flung himself and got that ball right out the top corner. It is a fantastic save in itself. I think, if anything, he'll be a bit gutted that he's not turned it behind and he's sort of connected with it too cleanly and then brought it back into play. But thankfully, Rhodes was offside. So never mind. But yeah, the dive down to his right hand side when I think we could have been a bit quicker clearing the lines. I can't remember who it was, but someone snapped at it and it played it straight into Holmes just outside the 18-yard box.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Woody. I'm not sure. But yeah, we just needed to be a bit more composed and a bit quicker clearing the lines. But Victor still pulled out a stunning save down to his right hand side. He goes down so quick that if you blink, you'll miss it.
Yeah,
that's how quick he's got down, and I suppose it helps that he's not a 6'7" keeper. But he still got down so quickly and got the ball. And there were multiple times where dangerous balls came in and he's gathered it like it were nothing. And then just gathered it in the second half and sat on it and then wasted that little bit of time getting back up. But again, stellar performance from Victor. I think if he'd have got a clean sheet, he would have been man of the match contender. And there is a reason why he's kept 5 clean sheets, because not only has he got the experience in front of him, but he can also pull off some decent saves. And when it's all working together, that's why he's kept 5 clean sheets this season. That's why we've only lost 3 games. And I think there's only 6 teams that have lost 3 or less so far this season, us being one of them. And yeah, like a comment that's just popped up now, Sweden's number 1. We discussed this on the was it on the post match or just before? Yes. Yeah. Sweden needs to be looking at him because he's just unreal. How have we got him? How was he 5th choice at Leicester when we picked him up? and now we've got him. That's another thing as well. Taylor, get talking to Victor, get him to sign that extension because we want to keep him because he's fantastic.
Yes, agreed. 100% agreed. Make anything to add?
No. Well, you can't add out to that, can you? Sweden's number 1, Rotherham's number 1. Top man. Top man.
The penalty shout in the second half for Huddersfield, Mick. At the time, it was nailed on. At the time, we all looked at each other. Everybody around us, we all sort of just looked at each other and went, "It's a pen, that, innit?" And I was certain it was a penalty. But it turns out it's probably the right decision. And it's probably a really, really good decision from the referee.
There's no probably about it, is there? Having watched it back, he has absolutely nailed that one, referee. Absolutely nailed it. Whether he knows that he's nailed it is another matter, because some of his decision-making elsewhere throughout the afternoon was unfathomable. But anyway.
Gave you a headache.
Yeah, he did give me a headache, yeah. He's nailed that one. And to be fair, it's probably a booking, if anything. It's a really, really embarrassing attempt to win a free kick, to win a penalty. I mean, he's not only has he wrapped his leg around Cohen Bramall, he had a look first to see where they were going to put his leg to wrap it around him. You know, it was just embarrassing, really, really embarrassing. You know, some of these penalties were a bit iffy. You know, well, maybe it is, maybe we're looking for it, maybe it weren't. I don't know. That was just a clear cut dive for me. And yeah, it was just I don't see how there's. I personally can't see how there can ever be any debate that might possibly be a penalty, because it isn't. Not
Agreed.
In any world.
Agreed. I think most people are agreed. That one, yeah, actually, he stuck his leg back, looking for it twice. He Huddersfield kicks the back of Ramon's leg. Yeah. But
that's absolutely right. It's twice, and it was the second time he kicked him when he had to have a look where they were going to kick him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What are you doing? The ball at your feet. You've got the ball at your feet and the goalkeeper in the net. That's it. You ain't got no else. Why? Go for goal, man.
John Morrell says, there's not often we give referees praise, but John Morrell says in real time it looked nailed on. How the ref saw the guy leave his leg in the heat of the moment and gave the right decision was quite impressive. There's 2 options. You can choose to believe the referee gave it correct decision and saw it, or you can choose to believe he bottled it. I'll leave it up to you. He got the decision right, and that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't understand what's going on about saying it's a nailed-on penalty. No, it's not. The attacking player is instigating the contact. If anything, Bramall's done well not to kick him back. if someone's trailing leg and he's kicking it back at leg, you're going to, in like a heat of the moment thing, you are going to try and swing for it and clear the ball. But Bramall's been very smart. He's not gone for it. He's just muscled the player off. Players sort of hooked his foot round Bramall's calf and then gone, he's touched me, it's a penalty. The replays did help, I think. But if the refs got that right by seeing the trailing leg, fair play, well done. If he's just guessed, then also well done.
He just guessed the right way.
Yeah, exactly. But I think as well, he's listened to his linesman because the linesman didn't flag either. So maybe it's the linesman that's seen the trailing leg and the referee hasn't, and the Sky didn't pick up on that because they just said, the referee's blocked, and they signed other. Maybe Lino's told him, no, it's not a foul trailing leg.
Yeah, possibly.
It can be as quick as that. But yeah, Victor would have saved it anyway. Be right.
That's true. That's very true. Stuart Humphries says we still need a proven goal scorer. Ronnie Moore said that on Radio Sheffield. Potentially, but we've got Georgie Kelly.
Yeah, can I just interject on that one? Valid comment, Stuart. Yeah, valid comment. But I've just done a quick working out on Georgie's average league goal per minute.
I've just done this. Crazy.
Yeah. And Georgie averages a league goal every 60.3 minutes. So, in terms of goal average per minute, he's averaging a goal every single game he's played. He just hasn't played a full game in the league yet. So, is that impact sub? Potentially. So Georgie's that goal scorer this season. Him and Shea up front. The only reason that hasn't been done yet is because it's almost illegal to have that strong of an Irish front line, and it might give Ireland ideas who might then call up Georgie, and then he might go somewhere else. So, smart tactics. Keep him on the bench. Let him just score goals quietly, and off we go.
Apparently, we've got a comment here saying there was a camera angle behind the referee who was unsighted, but he still got it right. That's all that's important. He got it right. The negatives from yesterday are that Chio has done his hamstring. We don't know how long that's going to be. There's a press conference, I assume, Monday, the Tuesday game. I wonder if I'm hoping we'll get more information on that one. He sounds a bit down about it, to be honest with you, Matt Taylor. So I'm worried that's going to be out to the World Cup jobby, but we'll see.
He did say in his interview it was a tightening of the hamstring rather than a tear or a pull or anything like that. I think I'm pretty sure he used the term tightening rather than anything else. So fingers crossed, it might not be too bad.
Yeah. He also mentioned that one of the reasons Norton Cuffy didn't come on, I was one of the ones screaming for Cuffy to come on the last 10 minutes. He had a tightening of the hamstring, I think on Thursday, I think he said. So he was just saving him whatever he could, save him. And again, you've got Wes there, so it's not necessarily a problem. We just lacked a bit of pace, didn't we? Which Cuffy would have given us, but he was basically injured. Peter Kioso's took a knock to his ankle, played 45 minutes, first came back, took a knock to his ankle. Again, he didn't give any time for him for that, but hopefully that's not. There's nothing serious there in terms of that. Any other injuries? That's the reason I can think of.
So who we've got injured? We've got Bramall, Chio, Kioso, and Kioso, and then I think Peltier got took off as a precaution, as well. But for me, with Kioso's the only real one that's like, he said he's took a knock and he's got another bit of time out, which is really unfortunate for Kioso. But the other ones just sound like little niggly things, and I think Mac Taylor even said we're just not going to risk them. We've got the support in those positions, so we just won't risk them, which I think is quite smart. Shea's been sent down to a specialist in London for that to get looked at, which again is a precaution because they don't want it flaring up into something worse, which again is quite smart from Taylor there.
Well, especially he's done it before, Chio, hasn't he? He's done hamstring before.
Yeah, and then we know Norton Cuffy, I think that precaution is because he's a young lad, they don't want it to be a serious thing and push it because then that could impact his career later on, which again is very good. What's the word? Conditioning. Very good conditioning, if that's the case. So yeah, all smart things. I'm not too worried because they've not outright said it's a tear, which is good. It's just a bit of tightness. So I don't know. It might have sent to Chio to do a bit of yoga in London. I don't know. But as long as it fixes it, then it's all right.
Yeah. Now this all leads quite nicely. So Nicholas Skidmore says, apart from Lindsay. Now, Matt Tillotson is post-match, this moves on to the Stoke game, that he had basically been told not to play on medical advice because of the stitches around his mouth. Understandable. That's not a problem. I get that. But Ollie Rathbone is now suspended for Tuesday. Obviously picked up a book. We all said he was going to get booked. He got booked.
Here's the question from me, though. These fifth bookings in the EFL Cup, do they actually count towards it, or is it purely league yellow cards?
Well, now you're going to ask me. I think they count towards. I will check this because you're right. Nobody did mention this, did they? No, nobody on commentary or anything else mentioned this. He did get booked against Port Vale. Okay, we will need to investigate that. Right, John Morell's saying Rathbone 4 according to Sky.
Yeah, so that's his league 4.
They used to count together, didn't they? They did used to count all the roles because it's an EFL competition, so it should.
The only one it doesn't count in is the EFL Trophy because it factors in the Premier League teams.
We will look into
good
that.
question whilst we're live. Dear me.
No. Here we go. Ollie Rathbone's fine for Tuesday. Accumulating 5, 10, 15, or who gets 20 cards anyway in league matches. Ollie Rathbone. Accumulated yellow cards in cup competitions are treated separately and is an automatic ban competition. There you go. Complicated rules. So ignore what I just said. Ollie Rathbone's going to play on Tuesday. If he gets booked on Tuesday, which he will, Jamie Lindsay will come in on Saturday. If Rathbone was out, I think that may have pushed Jamie Lindsay to come back earlier. But it's irrelevant now, isn't it? There we go. So what do we think about lineup, Danny? What changes do you think of the players that played? Only Peltier came off with a minor strain, but I suspect he's one of those players like Woody that might need managing. So we might see a change or two in defence, possibly with maybe Humphreys getting his first start on Taylor.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more logical solutions. I think then I don't know. As Taylor looked at the Blackburn game, and that's why Hall was pushed wider and he brought Wood in. That's the thing he has to factor in. But yeah, I think Humphreys. If Wood is to come out of the team, then yeah, I would bring Humphreys in easily. It depends on how severe or how much conditioning Peltier needs. That's the next factor he needs to consider. But yeah, it can bring Wes further back in as well. If Chio is all right, or if he decides to play Norton Cuffy, either or. Yeah, I think Humphreys needs to stay on that. If he is to come on, he needs to stay on that left hand side, on that side of the experienced defender. Could even chuck McCart in as well if he wants to play Humphreys right instead of left. That's an option as well. We've got options.
Yeah,
that's the main thing. We've got options. I'm not overly worried if Woody does decide to have a rest on Tuesday because it is a big run in and we don't want to lose him post World Cup to an injury, even though weirdly Richard Wood doesn't get injuries.
Don't say that.
Danny.
I need a separate box to put quids in, don't I? That's going to be the jinx in it box. It was said that about Michael Smith. He didn't get injuries, and he didn't until he joined Chef Wednesday, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, be right. We've got Humphreys. He'll sort it out.
Jake the Snake Gaming, is Jamie McCart injured or not? Because it baffles me. He hasn't started a game yet. Really strange, Mick, isn't it? Jamie McCart's not getting lucky. He was on the bench, so I assume he's not injured.
Yeah.
But no, Guffey was injured, but on the bench. It's very strange, isn't it, that we're not seeing anything of McCart. I think he clearly don't fancy him.
Who knows? Hakeem Adoffin came on for was that his first appearance this season on Saturday?
He played cup, I think.
At league appearance, I mean. Talaji Bowler is missing in action at the moment with Jamie McCart. I don't know, maybe they've gone out.
He's injured again, Bowler.
Oh, is he injured again? Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thinking is there. Maybe we're still in the process of trying players out and the manager getting used to what's happening. I don't know. You're right. One for future, this young lad. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Ref watch. Now, I teased this last week. Now, I will caveat this by saying that
I'm going to
the
mute
EFL
my microphone
website,
for
when
this.
they announced that the Tuesday referees at the same time, so the Tuesday ones can sometimes change. But according to the EFL website, it's Gavin Ward. Gavin Ward's back.
God.
So yeah, he's already given us a penalty this season against Birmingham, which we missed. Our record with Gavin Ward in charge is actually quite good. We've won 3 of our last 4 games that he's refereed. The only game we lost was the Barnsley game, which he, basically handed to Barnsley. So we may be, I'm saying we may be a bit of a disservice, but I don't think we are. But anyway, Gavin Ward's the referee. Cheer up, mate.
Yeah, all right.
It was on the Birmingham game. It was inconsistent, but he got most of the big decisions right. And we know he's a bottler, isn't he? So I don't think he's going to give a dodgy penalty against us. Touches the wood.
That's a good.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. He don't get dodgy penalties, does he? He gives them all the way. The worse the injury, the opposite way, he gives the flipping free kick or foul, isn't it? So, whatever. I can't believe we're only in October, and I've already got to the stage where I'm just like, whatever. When it comes to the fact, this time last year, if we had told me I got Gavin Ward, I'd have been on my soapbox screaming and shouting and bawling. Whatever. Hopefully it means we won't get in for the rest of the season. I mean, that's a stupid thing to say, I know, but
pretty stupid, yeah.
They might just
the whole game is Gavin Ward.
Yeah. Well, they might just think, they've had him twice now. Let somebody else have him. Yeah. They won't.
But decent enough record. Our record against Stoke is okay. We've won in our last 6 games. The last win came in 2005. Not a team we've played that much, to be honest with you, in recent history. Our record at the Bet365 is decent. I think we lost the last one in lockdown. Other than that, I think we've not lost in a couple before then. So not a terrible record, unlike it was against Huddersfield, which we broke. Moving forward, let's talk about the forwards, Danny. Andrew Barlaser says, did we really miss Chio? Thought the team looked more balanced without him. I thought so, which then makes it interesting what you're going to do on Tuesday. Do you say, right, Kelly was brilliant when he came on. Ignore his goal. He was brilliant when he came on. He was mobile and everything else. Or do you say, right, Eaves is improving, keep him going, and he is, in theory, going to keep improving. And we know he's got a goal in him. It's just extracting it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But have you noticed that Taylor's ever slightly tweaked how we play? I noticed this with it's our Estonian friend, who runs the Russian Rotherham United stuff. That's the one. He analysed it, and you can see Wiles is slightly more advanced than the rest of the midfield, so it has turned into a 3-4-1-2 in attack, certainly. And I think that system suits Chio more because that's how he played at the end of last season, and he did play very well as a bit more of an advanced player. But it also utilises the fact that, yes, Tom Eaves is playing a bit better, and he's still an aerial threat from set pieces because of his size, basically. But that system seems to suit on the floor play more, because it's a definitely build-up play midfield with that attacking triangle of the 3 midfielders, and then push it out wide, and then it comes back in. Or you bring it back into the middle from an out wide triangle, and then work it through the defence that way, because that's how we did it for Washington's goal. And then Kelly's was the attacking triangle and the ball into the box. So if we are playing it more on the ground, which is Matt Taylor's way of football, I think he's putting Eaves in purely for championship experience. And I think that system will probably suit Ogbenny and possibly Kelly up front, or maybe Washington and Kelly up front more than it would Washington and Eaves. But for the time being, I do think it still will be Washington and Eaves at start because of where Georgie's head is at the minute, and he just wants to crack on and work on his own game, and then come on as the impact sub, which is his own self-admission. So I do think it'll be Washington and Eaves that starts, depending on how Chio is. I think is the way Matt Taylor will play it.
Yeah, they could always see Kelly and Eaves make. That'd be very harsh on Washington to drop him, but that'd be a defender's worst nightmare, seeing those two coming to jump at you.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Yeah. Depends how robust Stoke are at the back, doesn't it? As to who he starts. So I suspect it'll be the same starting front two, and probably the same starting 11. To be fair, unless there's any injury concerns. Although we might look at a bit more pace out wide, either side or both sides. Yeah.
If Cuffy's capable in 90 minutes, I think we'll see Cuffy start instead of Wes. Yeah. I don't know if he'll keep Wes in somewhere else, but you'd be stupid not to play Norton Cuffy if he's fit. You'd be really stupid not to. And similar with Bramwell, if he can get 90 minutes into him, I think it's a good game to try and get in and around him. John Morrell says Stoke or Orlando Giants. We've got Aidan Flint, who's 7 foot, bit fat, 7 foot there. Perfect. Let's get pace in there. Let's get pace in and around. And we know the big lads don't necessarily like it at this level, especially.
Bloody hell! I didn't know Stoke had Dwight Gale up front for last game.
Yeah, he's been terrible, though, hasn't he?
Oh, fair enough then.
I think I've read somewhere that he is having a terrible start to the season.
He'll change that on Tuesday. Don't worry about
that. Yeah. Gerald Simpson says Eaves will get his first goal on Saturday, which will be against Hull, his former club.
Yeah. That's written in stars, that one, isn't it?
Yeah. And there'll not be any change to midfield three. Injury permitting, there's no point talking about midfield three, is there? Because he's not going to change anything unless there's any injuries.
It's quite interesting looking at Stoke's last starting 11. They actually played the same system that Matt Taylor's trying to employ, the 3-4-1-2 formation. So if that's the formation Matt Taylor utilises, he also knows how to break down his own plan effectively. So he then knows how to counteract that. But Stoke put in a very strong performance in their last game. There are a lot of 7s on this list, and they're all at the back and all in midfield, bar one. So yeah, it should be a very interesting matchup because it'll be the same system against the same system. And maybe we need a big man like Eaves to go up against Phil Jagielka. He's at the base of Stoke's back line, and he got an assist and a goal in their last game. Or is that last season? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So he's like at the heart of their defence. So maybe a big man like Eaves could make it a real battle, and then the little off runner nips in, whether that's Washington or Kelly. We'll wait and see. But I could see Eaves having a good contest with Jagielka. Washington off the shoulder, maybe even a similar goal to what he scored against Huddersfield.
Yeah. John Morrell sort of takes words straight out of my mouth. Stoke are starting to turn around with Alex Neil. Do the well to come away with the point. We all know Alex Neil is a good manager when the circumstances are right. And like I said, they are starting to turn it around, unfortunately. But so are we. So we'll see. Any other mentions on selection before we move on? I think we're pretty much agreed it's going to be nearly unchanged. Yep. Yeah. Cool. Predictions. None of us got the prediction right. We all predicted a win, but nobody went 2-1. We went for the clean sheet. Mick, have you learnt your lesson? What are you going to predict for Tuesday?
I'm going for 1-1.
1-1. Cool. I am going to go for 0-0. Ball draw live on Sky. It's written in the stars. Danny?
No, you see, I'm in a little bit of an impasse with this, lads. Because every game I've recorded on Sky, we've won. And that goes back to that was Sheff Wednesday, Ipswich, Wembley, Gillingham, and now Huddersfield. So that's 5 from 5 recordings on Sky that we've won when I've recorded.
You've already set the record then.
I am setting it to record on Monday night, so I remember. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 win, first away win at season.
Like it. That'd take us to what, 21 points on 15 games.
Dreamland that for us. The dreamland that.
Won't it just?
Absolute dream.
Johansson says 1-1, Noel Jordan 1-1. Jamie says 1-0 first away win, same as Danny. Kim Hayward 1-1. Amy Woolhouse says 1-0. Miller's pinch in the last 15. Quackler says 1-1. John Morrell says think they nick it 1-0. Our way form is a bit of a concern. True. Paul Brock says 1-1 as well. Tobias with the positivity we all needed and goes 2-0. Thank you very much, Tobias. I can always trust on you to go positive. I like it. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's see how it goes. We now need a point a game to get to 50 points. That's where we are. A point a game gets you to 50 points. A point a game gets you survival. We probably don't need that amount of points, to be honest with you. But that's where we are. If we can find ourselves on 21 points after Tuesday, then we've got Hull on Saturday. We're in the worst form they've been in a long, long time. This running game starts to look a bit kinder, doesn't it? Don't know. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to see with that. I mean, it's about building that gap at the moment between us and the third bottom. That's purely what it's about, isn't it? So, cut the few adrift is the ideal world. You know, if 3 get cut adrift, then we don't matter. 50 points might not even be relevant, you know. So
John Morrell says 45. Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think 45 is probably better.
It seems to be over recent seasons, doesn't it?
Yeah, 50 is a guarantee, but then I think realistically you can probably go less than that. Yeah, thank you all for joining in. Will says thank you guys, always listening on Sunday night. Keep up with the work. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. We've gone on for a very long time, but we won, so we wanted to. We spent 20 minutes praising Dan Barlaser, to be honest with you, so that's why.
When you put the highlights out, you'll have to tag him in it, and I'll listen.
We will, yeah. I'll tag it when you're telling Alison to get him to sign the contract.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you all for being involved. If you haven't already, please do subscribe on the YouTube channel. And if you're listening audioly, please subscribe to audio on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Please do subscribe. We will back. We're probably going to do a post-match Twitter space on Tuesday, or it's a slightly later kickoff. We'll keep an eye on that because it's an 8 o'clock kickoff, and we work. So we'll see about that one. Danny, safe journey to Stoke. Words got out there.
Yeah, thank you. It should be a good bus going to Stoke. There is still space if anyone wants to book it on last minute. Just make sure you've got your card details ready because it's nearly time.
Yeah, Nick, always an absolute pleasure. I said that. It's been fun, everybody. It's always better when we win. We will back to the podcast on Thursday evening, live on YouTube, Friday morning for the audio podcast as we look ahead to Hull City through this marathon run of fixtures. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next time. Up the Millers.
Bye.
Ravel, vicious, brilliant. Mule with it. Wood's got around the back, and Richie Wood has done it again. The magic man has come up with another trick. Well, here's a chance to seal it. It's done.